this what was missing to be able to bring more impact to my job. We were given a problem, and so I read the case study. We were doing a project with like the UN Global Compact, and we had to come up with a solution. We took this case study, and through the case study, we went through all these steps of problem solving and decision making. My team was very enthusiastic, which was great. We even did fake interviews, which I had so much fun doing. So I did not expect really living this project, and I loved getting a taste of that, of doing it alongside folks from very diverse backgrounds, people who are studying the GMP, but also folks who are doing the EMBA long version. So we had a wide diversity.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny Salonga. I'm the program advisor at ESCP Business School for Executive MBA. And actually, this is my first time to do this. And I have a very, very special guest right now. I actually just requested this conversation at her last week because I saw her in one of the events, major events at on campus. So I'd like to introduce to you to our head of reputation and influence at ESCP, Miss Emily Olyarchuk. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Jenny. Thank you so much for having me on your first conversation around the program at the school. I'm super happy to share my experience.
For context, Emily is working at ESCP and at the same time recently joined our general management program. This is basically a gateway to your EMBA, but still very, very intense program called GMP. So let's get into it. I have some questions for you and very, very inspired by seeing you there. So this won't take too long. What made you take the leap to take the GMP?
Oh, yes. So this is something I've been thinking about for a while. I've been at ESCP for a little over 5.5 years now, and my background is in communications, journalism, branding, PR, that kind of thing. And over my experience of working at the school and growing at the school, I've started to bridge a bit more the brand strategy worlds and working very closely with our director of brand and communications, Marianne Conde Salazar. And so for some time, I kind of felt like I needed to get a little more comfortable on some of the kind of basic business knowledge. So I was on in my free time reading all kinds of books I could get on the topic. I was doing some like LinkedIn learnings, things like that. And a couple years ago, I think I kind of mentioned that to my boss, and she said, "Hey, have you considered doing our GMP program?" And at the time I hadn't. These programs, the EMBA and the GMP, which is in that, are super prestigious. They are really well ranked by the FT. I see all of the amazing alumni coming from the program, so maybe I had a little bit of imposter syndrome and didn't even think about it. But when she mentioned it, like a light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my gosh, I work at a business school. This could be a really awesome opportunity to develop that business knowledge that I feel like I need, or at least to make me feel a bit more confident speaking up when it comes to more sort of corporate strategy versus brand strategy. And that conversation took a while. It was first mentioned. I kind of started opening the idea. I felt like I needed to get a little bit more farther in my career, get a little bit more experience, maybe a bit of experience managing. And eventually I started to feel indeed like this what was missing to be able to bring more impact to my job. And like I said, I'm super lucky to have a boss that supported it, a school that supported me in applying, and yeah, that's kind of the foundations of why I thought the GMP, which again, as I said, I was looking for basic sort of business acumen and expertise and learning alongside peers who maybe have a lot more experience in those fields to develop that foundational knowledge.
So, what were your expectations coming into it? Like, views, chill, or
Yeah,
how was the experience?
it's really a really good question. I don't know, even though I know the program so well, I have to admit that I didn't have much expectations, in the sense like really didn't know what to expect. I have not done executive education before. I kind of expected maybe to be in like a seminar, have people talking to you. I think what surprised me the most was how hands-on the first couple days were. Um, and just, I was also really impressed and surprised by the openness and positive energy of all the participants and the program team. I really feel like the energy, I mean, I went away from it both so lifted up in terms of energy and excitement and like a little exhausted just because it was super high energy with people who wanted to be there and who were also, it was really interesting as someone who works at the school. You know, I didn't really know how that was going to fit in with the other participants, and I really enjoyed being able to share with them some of the ESCP experience and advice and talk about some of the professors who teach on the program. So yeah, I guess my expectations were maybe a little bit more traditional classroom style because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I know from the past. And I was just, again, really impressed by how we got hands on so quickly on thinking through a business case and learning by doing with people who were from all over the world, from all different kinds of sectors, and we're all excited to be there. That's what was really cool.
For everyone's attention too, when you take the GMP, you have 10 core courses, right? Finance, marketing. But 2 weeks ago, when you started your first day in class, tell us about that experience, because that's not actually, is that an actual course or it's more
No,
a preparation? Can you tell me more about it or tell us
for sure.
about it?
Yeah. So the induction seminar, it lasted 2.5 days and it's completely voluntary. You know, you don't have to do it to be in the program. Originally I wasn't sure to participate, but after kind of hearing about what it was about and the value it could bring, I kind of moved my schedule around again with the support of my whole team so that I could participate. So it's voluntary and you spend this time. I mean, again, we really got into the work quite quickly. So this week, actually, I just signed up for the 10 core courses. So that goes throughout the whole year. It is a program made for people who are doing it part time. So these are folks, right, working full time jobs, which is also really helpful because I will continue to do my work at ESCP while studying the program. So throughout the year, I'll have periods where there's a module that lasts a day and a half or 2 days, and then you'll have group work that maybe you do more, asynchronously or online with the classmates that can last over a month. So that the actual core 10 classes for me don't start until the end of March.
Okay.
So this first induction seminar, which lasted 2.5 days, was really nice in that it helped me sort of already feel part of the program, even though I'm waiting a bit more to start the classes. It was also really great because we got to get to know each other a little bit. The 2.5 days started with a presentation of the program by the program dean, Francesco Venuti, and Manon Marnier for the program direction, who kind of explains, how the program works, how to make the most of the program. I really appreciated a lot of the emphasis placed on taking time to reflect, because it's so easy to be super inspired in the moment, learn, open your mind to some new ideas, and then go back to your day to day. So I really like this emphasis on reflection. And then we spent time with a professor going through sort of the basic foundations of problem solving and learning some, which probably for folks who've done business studies was nothing new. For me, it was new. I didn't really know a lot of these problem solving frameworks, but at the same time, a lot of it's kind of based on common sense. So what was really interesting is that it was just sort of getting us all up to speed on things that we may naturally do or may have previously studied, and just reminding about kind of how to work through a problem. And it was also really helpful to start this way because, as I mentioned, we're coming from a lot of different cultures and sectors.
Mm,
And sometimes when you throw everybody together in a group, it can be hard to figure out from what point to start.
yeah.
And we basically spent these 2.5 days. We were given a problem, I loved it. I spent the Sunday before the courses like being back in school, reading the case study, doing the
Student
research, and
again.
yes, and I was like, oh my god, I'm such a nerd. I love it. And so I read the case study. We were doing a project with like the UN Global Compact, and we had to come up with a solution. And we took this case study, and through the case study, we went through all these steps of problem solving and decision making. And we were put into groups of sort of, teams of consultants. So my group was 6 people. I think there was maybe a group of 7, but we were several groups. and we were each assigned a specific element of the problem, and we had to come with a solution. And we came from all different backgrounds, and having this framework of problem solving really helped us to navigate those, maybe some of those cultural differences or differences in experience, and have points of discussion and help us focus our work. So right off the bat, we were working in teams. My team was very enthusiastic, which was great. We even came early one day on the last day, and we
Really?
had an argument. Some people were ready to start at 6 a.m. I was like, please, can we make it more like 8? But we even got there early to brainstorm and to work on our presentation. And we went through the whole process of, we even did fake interviews, which I had so much fun doing, as given my background in communications and I studied theater. I had a lot of fun. And you, Jenny, were one of the people that we
Interview.
worked with. So we even did, fake interviews to practice what it's like to speak to stakeholders and ask them questions about our solution. And to the point of, getting to our final solution, building a presentation and presenting it in front of the whole class. So I did not expect to be so, really living this project. And from what I heard from the program team, this is very much what the EMBA is about. And I loved getting a taste of that, of doing it alongside folks from very diverse backgrounds, people who are studying the GMP, but also folks who are doing the EMBA long version. So we had a
Yeah.
wide diversity, but overall, it was just really nice energy of everyone who was excited to be together and to get started.
It's such a fun feeling too, to feel like going back to school and actually reading
Yeah.
books and having this discussion with your um, classmates, right?
Mhm.
And so knowing what I can feel the excitement in your voice. So every time I see
I'm
you
a big
during the
nerd.
break, I was like, I'm so happy to see Emily here, and what such an inspiring journey to see, you know. So knowing what you know now, you mentioned about um, courses starting in March.
Yeah.
So that's next month.
Oh, yeah.
So how are you preparing between juggling your work and I'm sure you also have personal life. Is there any expectation in terms of how many hours you would need to kind of set aside for this? You know?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't gotten into, I mean, I do think it's 10 classes. I feel like I read somewhere how many ETC credits it is.
Yeah.
I mean, you have some of the core courses that last 2 days, some of them are
Two
only a
and
day
a
and a
half
half.
days. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a program where you can, and that's something I know is over the years, I've had opportunities to discuss with alumni of the EMBA, and I know the flexibility of the program is something that we really appreciate. And
Mm-hmm.
I've got to live that. Like literally Wednesday, I went on the platform and was picking how when I was doing my classes, and it's true. All of the classes, basically, there's 10, right? But you can choose where you study them. Like they're offered on
Oh,
multiple campuses.
exactly. Yeah.
And I really wanted to make sure, and it was really encouraged by the program team to maximize the experience and actually go to some of the other campuses and study on some of those. So I tried to
Mhm.
make a schedule that was well balanced throughout the year. I didn't want to put everything, just in the spring, and it'd be really hard to manage work and studies. But I also wanted to make sure like I had an experience on the Berlin campus, on the London campus, et cetera, not just in Paris, which is closer
Yes.
to where I'm based.
Agree.
And I also tried to pick classes, and this is something my director encouraged, with professors who I wanted to study with. So that was for me a key factor too. And so I even have a couple classes that I'm doing online, not necessarily for the flexibility of online, although that's a bonus, but because we have great professors who are also teaching some of the online courses. So I do think it's going to be intense. I have a very hard time imagining because I don't know what the group work is going to look like.
Yeah.
I do think the coursework, that at least the time in class is going to be manageable, again because it's structured in a way for people who are working full-time executive level jobs to be able to take the time to go and be in the classroom. I'm more curious how the coursework will go, but like you said, I am fully prepared to live the student experience again. I am, especially when it's something I'm interested in, like easily on a weekend I can read papers and
Yeah.
work on things. So I loved, again, the hands-on elements of what we just did. Like I could do that all the time. So I think it's going to be manageable, but for me, and what I understand even from some of my peers in the program, a lot of it comes down to having the buy-in of our leadership, to having the support of our colleagues. I'm super fortunate to have that across the board. Um, and I think it'll just require a lot of open and transparent communication. I shared my course schedule with my whole team, with my boss. I even discussed it with my boss before signing up to just make sure there wasn't anything that was maybe in conflict with a key event or a
Yeah,
moment where we are sure. And what's great is I don't know if the program did it on purpose, but some of our busiest times are like September at the
of
back to school
course.
season. Surprisingly, the month of May is a really busy time, because we're wrapping up a lot of projects before students are out for the summer. And
Yes.
it's great. There weren't too many classes during those key periods, so I was able to spread things out well. So I'm sure it's going to be intense, but I'm very excited, and so I hope that will help me balance everything well.
Well, the you mentioned about the campuses. That's brilliant. Like, I mean, one of the how you call that, when we do our survey, they like the
Mm.
idea of going to
Oh yeah,
Madrid, Turin, Berlin, London. It's like giving them a different kind of exposure,
absolutely.
learning from an Italian professor, like it's just a
And
huge
we
opportunity for them to tap into, right?
Absolutely. And we have fabulous professors across the campuses. So it's getting to experience that local culture and then, open up the diversity of people with whom you can study. And I can share, like, just in my case, I'm doing two classes in Paris at the end of March, because it worked out with those professors in
Thursday.
that time. There was one I wanted to do for the finance class in Turin, but I have a wedding at that time. So I had to prioritize the friends, so that I can still have friends.
Still have your
Despite
personal life.
it's important too.
Totally.
There was a strategy class I wanted to do, but I'm supposed to be skiing with friends. I'm like, they will not be my friend anymore if I cancel last minute. So I had some personal things I had to juggle. But I have a couple classes in Paris. I'm going to do two classes in the same week. So that's going to be kind of intense, in London, but I'm super excited about that. I have a class in Turin that I'm going to do, and one in Berlin as well, with Marion Festing on organizational behavior. And no, it was really, really good.
Let's get into some fast talk. I'm excited about this. This is more personal, more on the what do you every day? Nothing.
Okay.
One quick answer, 5 questions. First is morning exercise or evening run?
Oh God.
Fast.
Evening.
Evening. Audiobooks or ebooks?
Ebooks.
SMS, texting, WhatsApp,
Mm,
or audio messages?
Audio messages.
On-site conference or online sessions?
On-site conference.
Coffee or
Ah,
matcha?
coffee.
I thought you were matcha. I'm seeing a
I mean,
little
I'll
matcha
drink
effort.
matcha, but like I have my little wacky woolly coffee right here, so no.
Well, Emily, thank you. But before I let you go, you're American
Mm,
and my fellow Canadian, and
thanks.
you've studied abroad in the US and likely in Canada as well. Um, we're quite international. We have a very diverse background. And what do you say to people who are wanting to experience more in a different type of executive education? So how would you like to give them some inspiring thoughts? Because some of folks
Mm,
probably just don't, I just want to be here. But what is it that makes it special getting into GMP and at the same time being in France? You know,
mm. Yeah, I love that question. I mean, it's more, first off, something that executive education generally, I think I didn't really expect, and I think is so special, is it's not like necessarily when you're doing your undergrad where you kind of feel like society tells you you have to, and maybe your parents tell you you have to be there. Executive education, you choose to be there. Always work on your empathy, always work on listening with an open mind. We all have different ways of saying things. I know I have some very American stereotypes in the way I communicate and what I do. I can be kind of intense as well. And I think it's a really good memory sometimes to separate the person from, just to again, just like give people space and patience to express themselves. And work on your own empathy and your own humility. And I think having educational experiences outside of your native country helps with that immensely. And that leads you to be a more impactful leader.
Right. But I want you to know, Emily, that you inspired me to do this interview. This is my first ever sort of experiment. And it's not an experiment, but it's even like when I saw you, when I see you're always smiling in that environment where I know it's intense, and to know someone that I work with is in this program, it's inspired me. And then of course we did, you mentioned about the interview,
Oh
the
my gosh,
the
that was
fake
hilarious.
interview I did with you guys. I absorbed the energy of the team. Like I absorbed
Mm.
everything that you guys do. And I thought I'm gonna invite Emily to have a quick conversation about the experience because I saw it firsthand how intense, but you guys had fun, like I
Oh my
felt
gosh.
the community. You've only met each other for 2 days, yet I felt that community is pretty strong. So
Mhm.
thank you so much. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
I will see you around the campus and whatnot, and I'll see you on in March when you do your class.
Yep, exactly. I'll see you then. Thanks for, like we said, it's good to reflect. I've spent some time thinking about how those first 2 days went, but it's true, sitting down and actually talking through it and talking through what was so meaningful to me is really helpful for me to take more away from the program. So thanks for the opportunity to do that.
Thank you.
And I look forward to hearing all the other experiences of the people you'll speak to next.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day, guys. Buongiorno, buongiorno. And in German, in other campuses, in Italian, Madrid. Have a good day. Bye.
City.